tell us a little bit about your past. Tell us about the Navy and then how you got into LAPD.
Let's see. I was a high school dropout, and all I wanted to do was surf and just work out, work. And that got kind of old. And come 24, 25, was a late bloomer. Um, I had to make something out of myself and get serious about, having some responsibilities and mature, right? And so my dad was a Navy veteran, 32 years in the Peruvian Navy. So as an honor to him, I decided to join the Navy and take off. Of course, all my friends were like, dude, are you fucking crazy? At 25 years old, 24, 25 years old, you're going to go join the Navy? Yeah. So I packed my bags and I took off to from LAX all the way to Chicago, and they bussed us in to Great Lakes, which is what we call Great Mistakes, Illinois. And I got to tell you, man, it was tough, really, really tough. Being away from home, October, never forget, October 3rd, 1994. Uh, 10, 20 degrees every single day, marching and dealing with a whole bunch of 17, 18-year-olds. It was just, dude, it was nuts. I don't know what I was thinking. I wanted to go home, but I couldn't go home.
And you were a Cali guy.
And I'm a Cali dude. There was about 3 or 4 West Coast guys in my company. There was, I want to say 80 of us. And so every time that we're in attention out, in the field, you can see only like 3 or 4 of us just shaking, bro. Like
from the cold.
Oh God. Yeah, dude. I think with the wind, it's like -10, dude. It was, but you know what? Biggest lessons learned was perseverance. Got to know myself a lot from being alone. Developed some, I guess you could say, some really good habits and some bad habits as well. But I got to tell you, man, it was great. To this very day, in my aircraft carrier, the USS Constellation. Shout out to my Connie guys. There's about, I want to say, 10 of us. To this very day, we still get together. And I left in 1997. And so one of the best decisions I ever made in my career is to join the Navy. So Navy.
Well, we thank you for your service, brother.
Thank you.
Now, we've had so many veterans on from Marines, Army, and now Navy as well. And what you guys do, not everybody can do, man.
No. And we were talking earlier about our mutual friend, Hector Bravo, in that particular film, Grunt. I got to tell you, man, it's an eye opener. It's one of a kind, and it made me realize this is not just me in the Navy, but people sign up for a death contract.
Yeah,
it's what it really, really is, and you just don't know when you're 17, 18 years old. You really don't know what you're getting yourself into. So shout out to my boy Hector, man. Really appreciate his friendship and allowing me to meet you guys. And here I am, man.
Definitely. We appreciate Hector making the connection. It's crazy through this small little, I would say, podcast world. You connect with so many amazing individuals and hear so many great stories. And the people telling the stories, they continue to just educate individuals as to what their life was and what came out of it as well. And you mentioned, you were lost, right?
Yes.
At 24 years old, what was going on in your life that you were lost?
Ever since I came here from Peru in 1980, my mom took care of me and my brothers and sisters. And it goes without saying, as I have witnessed my life here in Los Angeles, there's a lot of absent fathers, single parents. And my father wasn't around, so I never really had that stern guidance for my father to say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. So fatherhood is super important for any kid, right? I mean, for a boy or a girl. And so I was just, I was out there, bro. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All that mattered was just surfing, working out, going to clubs, hanging out, and until finally, you know what, it's time to do something. Something happens when you're like 24, 25 years old. If any of your audience is out there that's that young, you'll see that there's this transgression, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Or I should say more of a transition that, you know what, I think I'm in my mid 20s and something I need to feel relevant, right? I need to accomplish something. You know, I have my a daughter. She's 20 years old, and she's the best thing in the world. And you know, she's in college, and you know, she's paving her road. Where me, on the other hand, I didn't care, and so the Navy really locked me in to make something out of myself, and I didn't want to reenlist. My best friend was the biggest influence for me to get into the LAPD Academy because when I was up on my last year in the Navy, I didn't want to reenlist. Bro, all I wanted to do is come home. Imagine you being on a ship for 44 days without seeing soil, literally from San Diego all the way to Australia. And you just 44 days out to sea. You couldn't tell, yeah, you couldn't tell a Monday from a Wednesday because what you eat on Monday, you'll eat on Wednesday. What you eat on Tuesday, you'll eat on Thursday. And then Friday, you get something else. And the only day that you know that's different is Sunday because there's church services for, you know, for people who are religious. So you go to church on the boat.
That's basically about it.
That's basically about it. And you're working 12, 14 hours a day. I mean, you'll work, bro, I've never worked my ass off. There's days where I worked 18 hours nonstop, you know, and during breaks, you would find like a little hole somewhere in the hangar bay because I was chalking and chaining planes.
Yeah.
So imagine having those big, you know, Hornets, Tomcats. So they have to be chalked.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a pad eye that's got these steel little arms, and you have to chalk them and lock them. And my job was to chalk and chain for 18 hours. But there's breaks in between your day. So all of us would just go to a corner, dude, and just take a fucking quick nap. Like, oh, all right, get up, let's go. And then you do it all over and over and over again. So yeah, man, you know what? I've washed many dishes to the point where now when I'm at home, you know, I get chastised by my daughter. Dad, you don't clean anymore. You know, I did a lot of cleaning in my life.
How do you feel about cruise ships? Let me ask you that.
You know what? I went on a cruise when my daughter was 2 years old. So that's she's trying to. It's been a while, but I would love to.
Okay.
The only reason why, dude, is you know what? You can just drop your bags in your stateroom, bro, and just go out and have fun and just hope, pray to God that you make it back to your stateroom, bro. But with that being said, people think that ships, you know, there's a lot of motion. If you get sick like that, not at all, bro. You're talking about a ship that's got over 5,000 sailors with 80 airplanes, birds. That's what we call them.
It's basically walking on land, except you're on water.
Exactly. So yeah, man, good times.
How are you chalking these planes 18 hours a day? I mean, isn't it only if they fly and land back on the ship? Or
right? So there's operations going on, but the problem is, well, I shouldn't say a problem. The challenges and the duties of responsibilities of everybody in the hangar bay, right? So there's planes that are on the flight deck, but there's planes that are on the hangar bay, which is the lower level. And what ends up happening is that you have to move them around for operations, for maintenance, for repairs. So you're constantly always moving the planes around, which means that you got to chalk and chain. Now, of course, I'm embellishing a little bit. Not every day was 18 hours, but your shift was 12 hours. But sometimes it just seemed like more, bro.
So that was your duty all day long.
That
too.
was my duty
Wow.
all day long.
How do the rankings work in the Navy? Same as Army, same as Marines? And
I think E4 is when you make petty officer third class. E5, you make petty officer second class. E6 is petty officer first class. And then E7, you make chief. And that's when the chiefs were the beige. Then you have senior chief, master chief. And then if you want to get commissioned and be a commission officer, that's a whole different ballgame.
So what year was it again that you went into the Navy?
1994 in October. And I was honorably discharged in 1997 in October.
3 years.
3 of the longest years of my life, bro.
Wow. And now you're back in civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the plan? Were you right away thinking law enforcement, or what was the deal?
Yes. So I applied for the LAPD, and I was told that I couldn't move forward with my progress because I was going out to sea for 6 months. It was what we call the Westpac tour. It's a tour where you're gone for 6 months, you're not back. So I had to put my process on hold. So when I came back, I picked it back up, and I got my appointment in July 6, 1998.
98. Okay.
Was it easier to get into law enforcement because you had a military background, or?
Yes, military definitely helps. To this very day, all law enforcement agencies would prefer a military background for several reasons. I would suppose the main reason is because there's a lot of professionalism, a lot of sacrifices, and you're very structured. Knowing that a lot of law enforcement agencies till this very day are paramilitary. You got to march, you got to give orders, you got to have that inferior superior rank chain of command. So there's a big preference for military. So it was kind of easy. It did help, being Latino. I can tell you that in the early '90s, if you were male Caucasian, you weren't getting in. You're waiting, because you want to have that diversity and you want to be able to match, the race of your community. And at the time, um, uh, maybe not many people know this, but in South Los Angeles, I want to say in the early '90s was predominantly black, and today it's like 60 to 70% Latino Hispanic.
And I think it's it becomes easier for the civilians to communicate with law enforcement, not only with the language barrier,
Correct.
but they're able to, I guess, feel more comfortable that knowing that, hey, it's one of ours who's in law enforcement. I can be more comfortable opening up to them if something were to occur.
100%. Yeah, I think there's more of a of reflection, if you will, of
Correct.
yourself, where you can deal with someone who can speak Spanish. I was very fortunate; I can speak Spanish, and a lot of these type of incidents, get there, and a lot of families didn't speak English, so I was able to respond, and have that connection.